Hello! Hi, and welcome again, dear viewers, for another amazing Officina Meningi one shot right here on the Rolling Nomads. Today, we're going to be playing Last Sabbath, but before we get into the amazing detail that is that game, we're going to go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves. I am Avery, Community Ambassador right here on the Rolling Nomads. Oh, not anymore. I'm a partnerships manager now. Remember your promotions, family. You can catch me, on TikTok, Twitch, at Avery Boy, all the social medias. I do stuff. I style myself as something of an internet personality. And I'm so happy to be here tonight with you guys. Let's go ahead and pass it on over to the wonderful Ian Hathaway.
Hello, everyone. So I am Ian Hathaway. I am a game designer, writer, translator, etc., based in Italy and Germany. I collaborate with Officina Meningi, who, in the person especially of Hathaway and Valentino, whose last name I'm now forgetting. This is crazy. So they're the authors of Last Sabbath, the game that we're going to play today, and of other wonderful games that we'd had a chance to play on this channel before.
Absolutely. And we'll throw it over to the wonderful Azure Butterfly.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. I am the production coordinator here on the Rolling Nomads. I may know me as Ingrid of Sintra in Witcher Ways of Old, Maria Russolini in Berlin Bloodlines, or Hannah Ackerman in Vein and Blood. You can find me on the social medias at _Azure Butterfly, and on Twitch at theazurebutterfly.ttv.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Rachel. We'll pass it on over to the last, but certainly never the least, Druid by Night.
Hello, everyone. I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. You can find me at Druid by Night on all the social medias, including on Twitch, TikTok, Blue Sky. And you've probably seen me here on Rolling Nomads in many of our games. I am the social media manager, so all those posts that go up, that's me. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here tonight.
We're so excited to have you as always, Luna. And without any further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it back to the wonderful Ian Hathaway to go ahead and begin our guided journey into the world of the Last Sabbath.
Super. Thank you so much. So we are going to play Last Sabbath today. This is a rules light narrative journaling role-playing game in which you play as a coven of witches. So it is a GM-less game. Each one of us is going to create, as we play and go along, a witch, and through a series of turns, thematic turns and rounds, with a bit of guidance by the tarots, we are going to come together as a coven, find out that there is something dire that we need to somehow face, and finally face it. So we are playing a bit of a condensed version, one-shot version of a Last Sabbath adventure or campaign, which can be structured over more narrative moments than the one we'll be playing. We'll be playing 3 rounds of 3 storytelling moments. It'll become very clear what that means in a second. And since we don't even have to build characters in this game before starting, if you are all ready, we could just start.
At your leisure, my friend.
All right. So the first chapter of our story is The Calling. It is the moment in which our coven of witches comes together. That is the story that we want to tell, building on each other's tales. I am going to flip 2 major arcana. So I have Strength and the World as my two cards, and these 2 cards will be our guiding lines for the entire scene, and I'm writing them down. Being a journaling game, we're working with a document that we are all editing together, writing down our notes. So Strength and World. And just to give you a sense, this is the Last Sabbath book, beautifully illustrated by Loperton. And the game gives us a brief guide to how to interpret these arcana. So strength tells me discipline, control, focus, seduction, bravery. And his characters, it talks about athletes, warriors, soldiers, familiars. While the world, fulfillment, fame, birth, openness, obstacle, journey. Journey seems like a good place to start. Creature, ally. All right. So, building on that, I am going to start off by saying that. So, my character is wearing heavy outdoors clothing, clothing for the mountains, really, for hiking in the mountains, and that is exactly where they see them. They are climbing up not a rock cliff, but it's not really easy going, and we really see their hand grabbing onto a handhold, pulling themselves up, and they're on top of a ridge overlooking a huge valley. They look forward, and there is a path that follows the rocky road along the ridgeline. It's like a mountain crest between two valleys. The sun is going down, the light is amazing, the air smells of adventure and travel. And far away, maybe another half an hour's walk at a leisurely pace, I see a tower. A tower, a fortress, it's unclear. Some kind of large building, and I know that is my destination, and there is where I am traveling. So that is going to be my scene, and I am going to, after I describe this bit of narrative, I am going to go onto our spreadsheet, and I'm just going to write down a note about I climb the mountain, a castle lies in the distance. So that's all I write. I climb the mountain, a castle lies in the distance. That is the first entry into our journal. I can write down that I wrote it so I remember. And now I will pass it on to the second player. Perhaps Avery, you could coordinate this so you can keep track of how we're moving through the game. I can also do it if you prefer. It doesn't matter.
Sure, yeah. Why don't we do our order as Ian, and then Luna, and then Azure, and then myself. Does that work?
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Okay. So, I would say, opening the scene from my perspective, I look down at a long skirt and boots as I'm walking this rocky path, and the dress is warm. It's long sleeves. I have a coat, but it's not the best mountain climbing attire. But I have to stay on theme. It's the rules for myself. With a color scheme of red and black. And as I'm approaching this tower in the distance, it's getting closer, and the light is hitting it in such a way where, while beautiful, it looks almost haunting. The way the clouds cast shadows over it, and it sends a chill up my spine, despite the warm clothing. And I think that's all I got.
Wonderful.
Me and myself. I'll go ahead and write that down.
Would casting magic that makes the air around me warm be considered a charm or a spell?
Yeah, I think that would be a charm. That would be sort of a
Perfect.
minor effect around you. You are more than welcome to do that without sacrificing anything, I think.
Perfect. I don't like warm weather clothes.
Very stylish, though.
Yeah. So, seeing the two ahead of me, I'm taking my pace leisurely. In no way am I wearing clothes that fit the occasion. Instead, I've decided to cast a charm that keeps the air around me at a comfortable temperature. I'm wearing a rather soft skirt with combat boots, purple leggings, and a little tank top under a mesh shirt. Nice little matching hat. All in blacks, blues, and purples. And as we're approaching this tower, I'm sighing at being dragged out all this way, but cannot resist the call of adventure either. And I find my pace picking up. But the closer we're drawing to it, the more unnerving things seem. The darker, almost, the energy, even the light, seem to grow as we near it. It's not frightening, but it's almost as if telling me, maybe we shouldn't be. Maybe something is in this tower that we shouldn't be trying to grasp for. But, knowing me, I love a little danger. I quicken my pace.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that while the others took this path, and where we saw one of our other fellow witches climbing this rock face, I think we see my character taking the leisurely stroll through the valley. The water is kind of pooled, it's become quite boggy down here, but luckily, at this season, with the mountains kind of on all sides in these valleys, the air stays a little warmer down here despite the wet. And that's conducive to all sorts of growth of edible plants. And I think see my character in a kind of heavy woolen poncho that has all different kinds of animal faces in its design, and a large bear on the center of it, black wide-brimmed hat sitting back on their head, a pretty gnarly scar on their face and neck as they're just picking blueberries and flicking them with their thumb and trying to catch them in their mouth. And they seem almost entirely too unconcerned with everything going on, that they've allowed this energy to just sort of guide them. They are at this point just sort of along for the ride and whistling a little tune under their breath as they just pick berries as they walk and eat.
Very nice. So after our first round, the ball comes back to me, and I keep going while Avery can write down their memory. So I imagine my character nearing the other two friends, companions, who knows, we'll find out, the one in red and black and the one in purple and black, and kind of answering unasked questions. I smile wryly and point back and said, "Yep, I took the steep path." And then I sort of look up and down my two companions and say, "See, you two haven't forgone the color coding. Well." And then I look the other way, and I look down into the valley, and for a moment you see my eyes change and become golden as I cast a minor spell, and you know this of me. I am focusing my gaze to see something far away. And then I say, "Well, it looks like they've took the even more leisurely path. I wonder if we're going to have to go get them this time or not." Bit of annoyance as I gaze down into the valley where our third companion is sauntering. But then I become more serious as I look at the castle, now it's clearly a castle that is closer to us, and say, I don't think I'm ready to go in there yet. And for the first time, there is a bit of uncertainty, maybe even fear in my gaze and voice as I look back into the eyes of my other two companions and decide to sit down and open up my thermos full of tea and offer some to you.
Seeing our companion approach, I smile as I notice the two behind me approaching me. And I stop and allow them to catch up to me so we may speak. As I'm being spoken to, I also look down at the valley. I don't see much of anything. It's a little too far away. But I know this of my companion, that he can look, they can focus their gaze in such a way. So I believe them. And I say, oh, there was an even easier path? Well, I wish I knew about that. Oh well. I'll look to my companion in the purples and blues and say, oh, you look nice. You still got the color scheme. That's good. It's good. Always stay on brand. But as looking back to the castle, that chill, that shiver is there once again. And with a thermos of tea offered to me, I will gladly accept the warmth and take a swig of it, hand it back. And may I ask for a card pull?
Mhm. The Magician.
The magician. Okay.
So, for anyone interested, the Magician gives us creativity, deception, imagination, willpower, manipulation, potential, of course, magic, etc.
Excellent. I will reach into my own bag, and you hear rustling of different items. There are, divination tools, a wand, different jars of herbs and waters. And I will pull out some snacks and offer them to my companions as we just rest for a moment before continuing on into this spooky castle.
Always prepared, thank you.
Always prepared.
At the compliments to her outfit, I smile and kind of give a knowing nod. Of course, I've always got to be me. Who else am I going to be? She's going to hear their trepidations going towards the castle. And she's just going to say, it's fear hearing. You guys feel the darkness too there. There's got to be something fascinating there. Yeah? Sure think so. Or if something's, pushing us away or giving us these sensations, obviously got to be worth it. I mean, I'd rather be anywhere, but in this location, I don't see why we should stop now. We've already come this far. We should try to reconvene, though, with all of us. I would also like to ask for tarot pull.
So we have the moon. The moon gives us femininity, intuition, dream, unconsciousness, illusion, secret, or night.
Interesting. I think in her mind she does secretly crave to find out whatever is hiding behind the walls of this castle. She wants to know more, even if she'd rather not be here. And I think she's gonna look, having noted where the others were talking about their third companion, or fourth, and trying to trail along to see to see an area where the paths may converge ahead. And it looks like, from what I can tell, all roads, all paths, ever winding, shifting, changing, eventually lead to that location. Sensation that drives that ear a little deeper, like a nail being hammered in. And she's gonna look back to the two of them and she's gonna say, we should continue on. I mean, we don't want them to beat us there, do we?
I just snort.
I think as my character wanders on, I think they've realized they've neglected the thing that gave them their power. And they'll stop, look up at the phase of the moon hanging high in the sky, and will pick a small handkerchief full of berries and will pull a thimble out of their bag that he's wrapped a bit of leather around and sealed it so it's all liquid tight. And he'll take a flask of spirits from his bag and fill it with the thimble, and he'll make sure to leave it under the hedge of a yew tree for the little people. They've always been good to him, and he's always been good to them. And they've worked together for a long time. And I think in that moment, knowing that it's considered quite rude to stick around after you've left a gift, he will take a bit of tobacco that has been ground with lavender and sage and pack it into a very long-stemmed pipe. And will use a little charm of his own as he traces a sigil in the air that glows white hot for a moment before a lighter drops into his hand. Light the pipe and progress a little ways until he finds a point where he knows that the path that his coven has taken and his path can converge. So I imagine there's an intersection of these paths with just a stump in the middle where he'll sit down and cross his legs, and with his flask of spirits in one hand and his pipe in the other, enjoy what little bit of peace might be the last bit of peace of the evening. And I will pass.
All right, so it's been some time. We've been sitting around this little, not fire because we don't have a fire, but around these couple stones that provide a little bit of comfort to us, having our tea and eating our snacks. Not too many words are exchanged. At least I am rather deep in thought, but I'm also very happy to be once again with these people. You can see I'm getting progressively more annoyed with the fact that our final companion isn't there yet. Avery, can I assume that you reached us at the end of your narrative, or are you still far away from us? I missed that, I think.
I assume that you'll be walking up on me very soon.
Okay. So in that case, I think after we waited for some time, I will snort once again, get up, dust myself, and say, I'm sure they'll catch up now, but we need to get going. So I walk forward and near the castle. And the castle is, despite being in the middle of nowhere and pretty clearly, at least from the outside, uninhabited, it is, I'm not going to say pristine. The signs of time show upon its stones. You can see moss, you can see some cracks, some of the ancient glass paneling of the windows is broken. But all in all, it looks very well kept, including the giant doors that bar the main entrance. Take a deep breath. Look at my two companions behind me, perhaps glimpsing the third coming up the path. I say, all right. And I knock. And the doors swing open without a sound. Well, that was easy. And I let that hang in the air.
As we're walking towards the castle, the moon hanging in the sky and the air is chilly. I smell very faintly scents of tobacco and lavender and assume that, yes, our fourth member is soon to be upon us. And I smile at that, remembering fond memories. When we approach the castle, and the doors swing open without any resistance, and the words "that was easy" hangs in the air, for a moment, I've sucked in my breath, and I'm holding it, waiting for something to happen, but nothing happens until I say, "A little too easy." And I flinch at the sound of wolves howling in the distance. And before righting myself and steeling myself, take a deep breath and say, should we wait, or who's going in first? Because not me. And I pass.
At all that, at the doors swinging open by themselves, the wolves howling almost on cue, there's a tremble of that fear, but then there's a chuckle. Things are heating up, aren't they? It's then that she's going to notice their companion, the one that had taken the more leisurely stroll, approaching them. There you are. You have a good time? See anything fun? And at the companion in red, their comment, she's gonna say, well, we're already here. And it seems we might be set upon by wolves here soon, so we might want to hurry on inside and see whatever might be on our way. And she's going to cross the threshold into the dark of the door, and as she takes her first steps, old torches left on the walls spark and light, not a normal orange or yellow or even white, but a deep blue, very powerful blue. Well, I guess I got a good taste. And then she
I think, again, approaching very leisurely with flask in one hand and their pipe in the other. He'll bite a little hard onto the stem of the pipe so he can hold it in his mouth as he puts an arm around each of the two remaining companions outside of the gate. Say, now, just when I thought I wasn't gonna have any company whatsoever on this little sojourn of ours, where have y'all been? I thought y'all would have decided to take the much, much easier path. It goes to show, oftentimes, my friends, my brother and my sister, it is the path of least resistance which finds the greatest fruits. And he'll open his bag with all of the berries that he harvested along the way. Go on now, fill up your bellies. We got work to do, and we can't do no work on an empty stomach. Now, can we, kinfolk? And with his arm around both of them, will kind of half-heartedly drag them inside, and just kind of, almost in a moment of second thought, look over his shoulder towards the howling of the wolves. I'll just say, "Oh, you pipe down now, or I'm gonna feed you to the real haints of this holler." And I'll pass.
All right, wonderful. So this was actually the end of our third round of narratives, and so we have concluded the the calling chapter. And in fact, our coven has come together, and we now stand before, or have just begin to enter, our challenge, so to say. So the second chapter of our three-part story has to do with investigation slash revelation. The goal is to figure out exactly what brought us here, why we are here. Once again, we have 2 more tarot cards. I was wondering if someone else would like to make the poll.
I'll do it.
Please.
I have already shuffled, so I'm just gonna... Oh, you want to come out? Okay. Justice reversed. So that's it upright.
Oh boy.
That's reversed. And then... You want to come out too. The sun reversed. So it's the sun upright. Do we want to use reversed meanings, or do we just want to go with regular?
I think as you wish. Could you give us a sense of what that meaning might be? Something to hang on to?
Yeah, justice reversed would be injustice, deception, things that are unfair, and the sun reversed would be sorrow, joylessness, but also silver linings.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, and since so I started the first round, and you are the second in line, and you also made the pull, I would say that you start this new round. So why don't you guide us?
Okay, I can do that. So,
one thing I forgot before we move on, this is one of the few mechanics of the game. We are supposed to highlight one of our memories from the previous chapter, and that is the memory that we will bring with us. Okay, so I'm going to highlight, for example, this one, the one where we met, and I made a comment on the color coding, and we had E, and I'm going to highlight it in green. So this memory is a memory that is important for my character, and it is these memories, these highlighted memories, that I can choose to burn to cast spells, more powerful spells than the charms we have been using up to now. If I should choose to do that, that memory disappears, and I simply forget everything that is associated with it, and will need to play my character accordingly.
Okay, I have highlighted mine.
I've highlighted mine.
Perfect.
Excellent. So, with that, taking a stock of our surroundings, seeing the torches. What color were they again? I'm so sorry.
They were like a deep blue, like
Wonderful.
unnatural
Perfect.
blue.
Yes. Seeing the blue torches casting shadows along the walls. There are cracks and there's vegetation growing through the cracks. It's, again, hauntingly beautiful. There's a grand staircase before us, and at the very top stands a statue of what can only be assumed is Lady Justice, except her scales are broken. but her sword looks very real and very sharp. And I say, a little shakily, okay, so does anybody live here, or is it haunted? What are we thinking, family? And I will pass.
I'm gonna chuckle a little bit at that. Equivalent of saying hello in a horror film, isn't it? And she's going to take a step closer up the... You said it was at the top of the grand staircase?
Yes.
She's going to start ascending the stairs, the creaks echoing in the hall, and I gaze up at the sword itself and then the broken scales. I don't know. It seems this place is quite out of sorts. No. I'm not sure if anybody would still be here, but... Let's see. And then she's going to, she's going to, attempt to touch the sword itself, feeling a bit of a pull to it. And as she does, it falls, as if the arm moved to her side, the blade crashing into the floor at her side. That is when the first sense of actual fear crosses her face as she starts trembling, like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Ideas? Anybody? And
I think my character takes a look around. At the sound of the sword clattering, they were about to answer our coven sister in red's question, but there was clattering of the sword that kind of drew them out of it. So they look over. I don't like this. I don't like it one bit now. I never understood how y'all live in such big dwellings. I mean, goddesses 3. I mean, this room is bigger than my entire home. I'm beginning to be concerned for y'all civilized folk, like y'all lost the way or something. And he'll walk over to the sword and kneel down. Look at it for a minute. Back up at Lady Justice. Back down at it. I'm gonna be quite honest with y'all, I don't think I want anything to do with this damn thing. And he'll move over to one of the doorways deeper in and just open it with a creak. Like, now if anybody's home, now would be the damn polite time to come out and greet your guests. Take another drink and take another stiff drag on his pipe. Turn around and lean his back against the doorframe. Don't sound like anybody's home to me, Sister Witch. And I'll pass.
All right. Well, so I, despite being the first to knock on the door, am the last through it. With some hesitation, I've actually looked behind towards where the howling wolves are crying out. Mentioned. You don't mean it. Referring to what my companion told them recently. But then my head snaps forward when I hear the crashing down of the blade, and that's when I rush into the great hall. I watch my companion saunter around and open the the door and say what he said. And everything is quiet for a moment, until from the open door there is a rush of air, almost. A rush of unnatural air that sweeps through the hall and around us. And as this happens, the lights, the blue torches dim. In fact, some are blown out. And the hall echoes with voices whispering repeatedly, hypnotically. And we can't, it's hard to understand what it is until words emerge from this murmuring sound. And the words are, what you did, what you did, what you did, what you did, what you did. And they're closing in on us, pushing us together until I decide to use an actual spell. So I'm going to sacrifice the only highlighted memory for now, which I will blot out basically. And I raise my hand 2 fingers high and say, enough. And a blinding sphere of light grows right from my 2 fingers, irradiating light into all the hallway, and these shadows are pushed back against the walls, and they basically become almost bidimensional, pressed against the walls. They don't disappear though, and they are stuck there as I hold this light aloft in the middle of the hall. The sound dims, but they keep saying, what you did, you did, you did. And that's it.
Oh, okay. So as that happens, I definitely huddle up to my coven mates as we're all kind of corralled into the center of the room. And as this is happening, I start I'm looking around wild-eyed, trying to, pick out what exactly is happening, and then the light emerges and the spirits are pushed against the walls. And I take a moment to take a deep breath before calling out to them to say, spirits, we're not here to harm you. But who did? And there's the only answer that I get is a burst of noise, what you did, loudly, that echoes through the halls. Before the spirits seem to slither along the walls and down the mirrored corridors that are up the stairs that are leading away from Lady Justice, one right, one left. And with that, I'll actually kind of quickly go up the stairs and I'll look down the opened door and see a single torchlight kind of lit by the door all the way down the hall. And then it creaks open. And I say, well, if we want to figure out what's going on, I think it's down there. And I'll pass.
Still shaking. In fear. First the sword, then the whispers and the ghosts, and that bright blinding light. Whew. Collecting myself. I'm here. I'm not alone. I'm with my coven. It's okay. I'm repeating that in my head. On the outside, as I watch Red point towards the now open door with that light in the distance. You say you're going towards it now?
I've just pointed it out.
You just pointed it out? Well, How big were you picturing that sword to be?
I'll leave that up to you, my friend.
Okay. In my mind's eye, the statue is very just about normal human sized. And what stands out is that the broken scales and the sword, contrasted to the marble that is the statue itself, are actual metal. This is an actual blade and this is an actual scale, but the scales are broken. As she turns to look down the hallway that's pointed out, she'll then turn back, and the arm that was gripping the blade that is now embedded into the staircase is back to its normal position, but without the sword. The sword has been left, and I think at that, she's going to... Can I get a tarot pull?
Absolutely. I can pull for you. I just finished writing my thing. So let me... Temperance.
Temperance.
Moderation, but also alchemical combinations.
Combination. Be a unique one. And I think this might have been a message in a way. And she's going to wrap her fingers around the hilt of that blade, and for a moment it's very heavy. And then she pulls it free from the staircase. She says, I'm gonna bring this with me. I just feel like this might be a good idea. Safety and all that, right? And she's gonna stand right up next to Red, and then deep breath. Say, you're right, we gotta continue onward. Are you all coming too? Says she's pointing to the other two companions, and she starts walking towards you now.
Well, I think it'd make us piss poor coven mates if we didn't come along now, wouldn't it? And my character will smile and put an arm around your character, Ian. He'll just say, I really do hope she keeps that thing away from me. I saw there were wrought iron fixings on that. I tell you what, the little people will get right on you for touching that iron. They'll make your life miserable. But I tell you what this reminds me of now, son. I think these spirits are a little confused. I think they've been listening to the greatest spell ever cast on mankind by a group of warlocks called the Beatles back in the day. I am he and she is we and we are all together, you know, that kind of thing. I am the Eggman, Goo Goo Kachoo. I think they got us a little confused here now.
I nod.
Think somebody still kicking around here. Somebody what got the ire of these poor spirit folk. I think, wrought iron fixings aside, the Sword of Lady Justice is probably the right tool for the task. Well, sooner begun, the sooner done, I guess. And they'll head off to follow, and I will pass.
I'll actually pick up exactly there, so I imagine that perhaps you keep a hand on my shoulder and guide me as I walk backwards towards as I sort of face the hall with the light still burning at the tip of my fingers. Although I'm pretty sure that whatever these things are, they're confused, as you said, and they won't be after us even once I release the spell. I'm just making sure that you can all get out of this room. But as we make our way towards where our companions sort of went towards the hallway, right? You're going down a hallway, yeah. I ask you, my friend with the pipe, and say, I don't think these are ghosts. And then I look at you and say, little people?
Oh, well, yeah, you know, the fair folk, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, though I must admit I've never been one that has had interactions with the shadow on the wall types.
Something's happened to them. This isn't what they look like. I can feel it through the light. And then I shiver, and perhaps you're right about the sword of justice. Let's not linger. And sort of walk out, I back out of the room with my fingers still pulsating light, and once I'm out, I dismiss it with a flick of the hand. Plunges into darkness except for one lone blue torch. And there is no sound. None at all. And I will pass.
Right. For a bit of inspo, could someone please pull a card for me?
I got you. The Empress. Upright.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so... So...
You know this better than me.
Would you care to explain the implications of that for those of us less knowledgeable?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was considering it for a moment. Luxury, self-care, fertility. Things that are tangible and have an air of wealth to them are yours. So, as we push this door open, and we're all kind of holding our breath, waiting for something to happen, the room is warmly lit. It's warmly lit by a fireplace of regular, red, orange flames. And there's just an exorbitant amount of expensive-looking ancient items in here. I mean, vases, statues, paintings, things that are worth, way more than anything I own. And I look around and say, so did they just pack up and leave? And I'll go deeper into the room, feeling a little more confident with the warm light. And kind of nestled in the corner with an unlit candle chandelier, small one hanging over it, is what looks like a book on a stand underneath glass. And there's a lock. And I kind of look back and point it out. And I'll think for a moment. And I'll say, I don't have time to look for a key. And I'll use a spell to unlock the box. So I will burn my memory of the tobacco smell. Oh, highlighting in black. Perfect. Okay. The box will unlock, and I will pick up the book. It's not dusty, as it was under glass. And open it, and very quickly, very quietly, we hear whispers of what you did before they fade away. And I'm now just studying this book, and I pass.
Falling close behind Red. I still have the sword in hand, though it's very obvious that I don't always hold a sword. Hand is very my arm is very shaky. Both with the fear of what had transpired in the room before and just the sheer weight. Swords are heavy. As she sees this vast wealth in this room and hears Red talk about how she's surprised all of this is still here, there's spot, and she says, usually untouched wealth in an abandoned place like this usually leads to a curse of some sort. I'd be hesitant to and as she says that, she realizes that Red has cast the spell to unlock that box and grab the book. He's just like, ah. But seeing and hearing the whisper, hearing those whispers, you said they're dying down?
Yes, they fade in and fade out.
Red, do you feel any different? Are you all right? She's gonna walk up to her companion and rest a hand on her shoulder, and almost in the moment of contact, the sword in her hand is going to start glowing, and not bright glow, but it's more like a shine that starts to emanate from it. And the book that Red just opened begins to pulsate. A dark aura that slowly begins to spread.
I think seeing this darkness begin to spread, just kind of looking over all of this treasure, I think in that moment, my character reaches up and touches the scars on their face and kind of cranes their head like they heard something on the wind and nods. Said, now, I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to be out of line. Just, you're okay with that, right? But listens again. Okay, well, that's not what you said before. And he'll reach into his bag. He pulls out. It looks like the bundled skin of a rabbit, like it's like the tanned hide has been sewed into one kind of almost oblong ovular item. As it moves in his hands, there's the sounds of dried things brushing against each other, that kind of dry grass on dry grass sound, like when the wind blows. But there's also a slight and slow drip of blood which drips from this item, and he will very, very quickly approach the box that the book was drawn from and lay it down inside of the box. Say, now it is my most sincere hope that whichever High Lord of the Tuatha De Danann we have offended by absconding with your reading material, that you might be pleased by this. Then he'll take a knife and he'll cut the string. And as the rabbit fur opens, a rather fresh liver from a game animal sits inside. Almost the way it was wrapped has kept it warm, so in this sort of declining temperature as we're going into evening, if we were outside, it would still be steaming. He takes it and kind of shuts the box. And I think he'll use a spell of his own here. And with the blood of that animal on his hands, he'll begin to make runes and sigils around this box, essentially drawing in the smells of things that aren't there. He's conjuring sensations to surround this thing. The smell of warm cocoa and the smell of honey and the feeling of stepping into a warm shower. All of these multi-sensory, all comforting, all welcoming, all meant to incense one to take this offering and accept it with grace, as a hope to placate whatever malice we've brought upon ourselves by stealing from a fey creature. And I think with that, the box lifts and it begins to tilt and spin until it shrinks down to about the size of a fly and puffs out of the air, and this dark aura that was spreading and becoming almost coagulating instead does a similar puff into clover petals that just fall to the floor, and that wonderful smell of freshly picked summer clover is the only thing that lingers in the air here. And I will pass as I expend my memory.
So I kind of look over your shoulder down to the place where these petals are now touching the pedestal and falling to the ground, and I think, well, I say, that's that. And once again, that was rather easy. And as I say that, the room starts spinning. And it feels like we are inside some kind of crazed elevator as the castle rearranges and transforms around us. It's bewildering, and I cling to my companions, try to help you stand up, try to steady myself, until the room slams into place once more. The walls aren't around us. I can't really see what's around us, but a dry, deep laugh echoes, and we hear a voice that says, "My dear witch, I was counting on you. Thank you for bringing it to me." And I'm going to pass.
Oh boy.
And sorry, so this was actually the end of our second chapter.
Perfect.
So now we are starting our third chapter, which is our sort of final confrontation / epilogue of our tale. And we get to have another tarot pull to discover what concepts should guide us. Azure, would you like to take care of that one, since you'll also be the first one to tell the story this time? So since this way we'll have because otherwise Luna would start narrating again the round. I would skip Luna if that's okay and start from Azure. Does that make sense?
Our first card is the Lovers. And our second card is the Chariot.
Would you like to give us an interpretation for them as well?
I'm still not great at these off the top of my head. Luna, do you want to help me out with it?
Sure. Yeah, the Lovers is divine union, karmic union. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it is something that transcends lifetimes. A partnership that transcends lifetimes. The Chariot is not only about travel and moving forward, but also about control. Essentially holding on to the reins and having control of the vehicle that's bringing you to your destination.
And those words were that we heard were, "Thank you for bringing it to me." grit my teeth at hearing that. Look to my companions. Say, well, we're really in it now, ain't we? Useless. And she's gonna look to the sword, and then she's going to see that it's still glowing faintly, and then and say, well, I just stay here. We have to find whatever this thing is. And I don't know, stop it? What are we thinking? All I know is we need to know which way we're supposed to go. And all I can think to do is... And I would like to cast a spell of guidance. Burning the memory. Can it be from both the first section or as long as... Okay.
Yes, it can be any memory that you have highlighted throughout the story.
Got you. I'm gonna burn my memory of the compliments that I got in chapter 1. And I'm just going to... What you see is what you know about my character is that she is an enchantment witch. She likes casting spells on other objects and making them do her bidding in various ways. So what she's doing in this moment is actually taking the Sword of Justice and casting a guidance spell, and then it points towards one of the several doors in the room. And as she does that, almost on instant, the door crashes open, and then 6 doors behind that just go open, revealing the path ahead. And then she's gonna say, "Let's go." And almost with a mixture of fear and excitement and elation, she's going to start making her way.
I think in that moment, my character just tips his hat. And he'll kind of lean down to Red. You know, it's not nearly so impressive, I wager, when I do the same thing, witching a well with a divining rod, but I'll give it to our coven mate here that they possess an unparalleled level of, what's that word y'all use? Panache.
Pizzazz.
6 of one, half dozen of the other, sister. And I think in that moment, he'll reach in his bag, remembering what Granny taught him up the hollow about these unseelie types. And check his bag, and he'll make sure that he's got a bag of rice and that he's got a few newspapers in there as well. Just nod, flip it over. And I think that's when he realizes that with his connection to the fairy spheres, that we have left the world we knew behind. We've been drawn somewhere else. And I think with that, he'll kind of lean into purple a little bit. Just say, you might want to watch your step here. We ain't in Kansas no more, Dorothy. And I'll pass.
And as you say that, and I am running after you, grumbling about the fact that the spell was pretty cool. Dude didn't say anything about that, did he? I basically stumble and fall, and I'm completely confused about what's happened until I realize that I am knee-deep in mud. And the what was solid ground, floor, doors around us is starting to shift into a sort of quagmire. The rooms we are passing through are melting into becoming some kind of bog that is sucking me in now, and I pull and claw my way forward. And could I have a tarot pull, actually?
The world.
How would we interpret this? What does the world tell us? Obstacle. I mean, obstacle seems pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
So in my guidance, I also see that it associates the Arcanum with some specific kind of creatures, and for the world it mentions ally. So what I like to think is that I feel myself slipping, and I scream towards the rest of the group. You don't hear me as you keep fleeing. And I feel like I'm plunging into this bog until something catches my hand. And it pulls me out, actually, and I look at it. And it is a rather emaciated creature. Something that might have looked elvish once, perhaps, but has clearly been subject to some trauma. And I recognize it. It's one of the ghost-like creatures from before, but in its perhaps not original form, but something closer to what it once looks like. And it pulls me out of the bog and says, "You keep running, and thank you." And I keep running. And I catch up with the rest of my companions. And I'll pass.
Okay. Rachel, could I please have a tarot pull?
Of course. One day I'll be good enough at these so I can actually give proper interpretations without having to look at like a full book.
Listen, it took me a million years.
The Chariot.
Okay. Interesting. What is it saying? Okay. So, as we're running towards wherever the sword is pointing, eventually we're going through door after door. The castle seems to continue shifting and changing. Nothing makes sense. And eventually we come into what appears to be a library with the bookcases stretching just into a dark ceiling. They seem to stretch so far we can't see the top. There's that same blue light emanating from the torches wherever it's appropriate to not burn the castle down. And out from one of the bookcases, like from between bookcases, comes a similar creature. Again, looking faintly like the spirits from before. But also faintly elven in appearance. And they say, "Oh, you're finally here. Wonderful. And I see you brought the book. Oh, perfect." And they will approach me, and I'm just holding the book like, yeah. And they will hold out their hand and say, "May I?" And I will look to my companions, and I'll actually pass before I make a decision.
I'm gonna look at that creature, having followed pretty much alongside her other companions. There's almost like a wild look in her eyes, as like she's heard of stories like this before, of creatures like this before, but I feel like this is her first real experience with these sort of beings. And Avery, she's trying to look at your character for a minute, because like you always know what's best in these situations. She's just like, and then looking to Red, like I don't know. I don't think we should trust. And the second she says that, the creature looks towards her, eyes the sword, is like, "You're not gonna need that." And with a wave of its hand, it rebounds from her hand, from her grasp, impaling itself into the floor, several feet behind her. And honestly, she's kind of at a loss, and she's just gonna say, "I don't know, but I know I'll try this." And she's gonna grasp what is actually a file on her necklace, pull it free, and then brush it in the palm of her hand, casting a spell of protection over us for physical damage, to at least rebound. Or it's not super powerful, it's not that long, but it's a small little shield for everybody, just to be safe. And she is sacrificing the memory of she's sacrificing the memory of taking the sword. And I pass.
I think in this moment, there's a genuine look of, maybe for the first time that his coven may have seen him, a genuine look of fright on my character's face. It is quite unwise to philander about with the lords of the fair folk. And in that vein, if I could very well please get a tarot pull.
The Hanged Man.
So the keywords I have for the hangman are martyrdom, meditation, release, trial, punishment. And as characters we have prisoner, spirit, ghost, tormentor.
I think in this moment, taking a look at this creature, I think he'll begin to watch its features change and model and warp. That it begins to become something entirely not what it was meant to be. Its form becomes crooked and hunched, its neck at an unnatural angle, like someone who'd been swinging from a hanging tree. Its robes become tattered and worn, but not in the way that traveling may do it, as if he were sitting in a gibbet, sport for the crows. And I think in that moment, my character will step between Red and this creature, kind of pushing Red back a little bit. He'll take this creature's disfigured face in his hands, with tears in his eyes beginning to come down his face. He'll just hold its face in his hands and he'll say, "You do not have to be what they made you, friend." And he will lift its face to his own and he will kiss them. and I will pass.
Well, so I burst into the room since had been delayed in time to see this scene take place, and I have some understanding of what's happened. I think somehow the light spell that I did actually burnt something off of these creatures, which allowed them to retake something of what they once were, but something has clearly been done to them. I only have a second, though, to take this in, because something behind me slams into Purple's protection spell, and the entire room shakes. It's like a giant hand just slammed into the room from outside. It shakes and it slams into it again. Something is pounding against the protection spell, and the same dry voice sounds again. This time there is anger in it, and it says, "Enough of this. Give it to me. Give them back to me." And the pounding continues. And with a burst of supernatural speed, which is just a charm for my character, I'm at the place where the sword touched the ground, and I rip it free of the stone. And I have the sword in my hand now. And that is where I will pause, and we will now start our... Oh, no, sorry. No, Luna is missing still. Sorry. I was not the last one this time. Apologies.
All good. May I have tarot?
I don't know how. I've been shuffling this on my... I got the hangman again.
Okay. Okay. Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. I've been shuffling. I'm doing it consistently.
No, I believe you. So as all this is happening, and I'm now clutching the book, realizing like maybe I shouldn't give anybody this book. It seems pretty important. And I look up at this disfigured creature and what Avery's character is, the compassion that they're showing to them. And the creature seems to begin to weep itself. And the echoes of what you did seem to emanate from it as it's weeping, until it becomes a cacophony of sounds mixed with the slamming and the shaking of the room. Books begin to fall all around us. And oh gosh, I am so sorry. Could I please have another card?
The High Priestess.
The Popess. Solitude, silence, repressed emotions, scrutiny, coldness, Divine Mother, Virgin, Nun. Oh. Divine Mother. Okay. So, my character, you would know her as a very religious witch. She is very devoted to the Witch Queen, Hecate. And with all this happening, she's at a loss for what to do. And she fishes for something in her bag and pulls out this talisman that she's made and begins to pray in Greek over it. And she's almost, her voice is almost competing with all the other sounds in the room before everything just stops. And time seems to freeze, except for the four of us as we kind of all look at each other. And I just like, okay, that worked. I'm going to keep doing that. So everyone else has a chance to react. And that's where I'll pass.
All right, so now actually we are starting our final round. So this is our last chance to tell to conclude the story, essentially. What is going to happen?
Seeing all the noises, the crying, the creature, the sword now in she doesn't remember that she even took the sword, so she's gonna look over to her other companion and see the sword in hand. There's still that glow to it. And that sensation that... Red, did you say it out loud? That maybe nobody should get the book?
Yes, I was like, maybe no one should have this. This is not good.
Forgive me. She's gonna go for the book and attempt to take it from Red and throw it to the companion with the sword. And she's gonna say, "Strike it." That's the only way I think this works.
Might I have a terrible?
The moon.
Well, that's a pretty card.
I love this deck so much.
I think in that moment, character just smiles. Says, "Well, if you're gonna drag me all this way, you booger, you haint, you creature of the holler, I'm gonna make something worthy out of your hide." And he reaches in his bag, and just like Granny taught him, he'll scatter the grains of rice and watch this creature, this blindingly beautiful but cold and insensitive fey creature, fall to the ground and begin to count silently to itself each grain of rice as it picks them up, and clearing my memory of the silliness of noting the confusion of these spirits with the quote from the Beatles. He'll hold out his hand as it begins to crackle and burn, and the palm of his hand becomes coals in a forge, glowing hot, as a small iron flask springs from the coals. And he'll reach out and he'll open it. And we see the form of this thing begin to stretch and elongate as it's slowly being sucked into the flask, this creature that has brought us here to steal this book. But before it can be sucked away into this flask, imprisoned forever, it's reaching. Its fingers are nearly at the edge, the corner of the pages of the throne book. And I will pass.
Real quick, just in between, I forgot to burn a memory. I burned the memory of me speaking to the spirits in the first room.
Cool. Yikes, okay. So, the book has landed in front of me, opening by chance perhaps onto a page that represents some kind of beautiful fey creature on the top side, and on the bottom side reversed a distorted version of the same creature, something that looks quite a bit like what stood before Avery's character. The book's there. The creature lunges for the book as it gets sucked into the flask. Purple's words echo in my ears, and I'm going to pull a card, I think. The Sun.
That's a beautiful card too. Wow.
The sun seems like something good. The first word it says is success, happiness, light. Okay,
Yeah.
I like this. This seems like a good thing. So I grip my hands on the sword hilt. My face becomes determined, and I push the light energy that I had summoned before into the blade. I'm casting another spell. I need to think a second about what I want to sacrifice. I only have... Yeah, I just have one memory left, that's true, since we're only playing 3 rounds. I think I want to sacrifice something other than a memory, but I need a second to figure out what that might be. Let me go through this first. So the sword begins to pulsate with magical energy. The blinding light fills the room, and I turn the sword point down and plunge it straight into the book. And the book just, it's like it blazes, it goes, and is completely consumed in an instant. There are 2 screams that echo. One is from the creature as it is sucked into Avery's flask, and the other is from whatever was outside, the voice that's been chasing us. And both the voices scream, no. But it's done. It's done. The light returns to normal, and I think I realize that I can't see anymore. While it disappeared, the light has taken my sight with it. And I pause.
Okay. With everything that has occurred at this point, and with the sounds dying down, and the creatures that have been antagonizing us now gone, seemingly, a cold, dead silence just blankets everything around us. We're all kind of taking stock of each other. I look over to Avery's character and make sure he's good. I nod to Rachel's character as, like, good thinking. And seeing Ian's character kind of putting his hand out, touching his eyes, I'll walk up to him and put my hands kind of on his face and I'll say, "We'll be your eyes." And I say, well, another successful Coven adventure, I'd say. Let's leave. And I will promptly turn on heel and open the door. And the door just leads to the outside. As if this is a one-room building. And as I step out, I turn around and the 3 of you are in a circle of mushrooms. And that is where I will finish.
Nice. That is our final scene.
Wonderful.
It was so good.
Yeah, that was
Very
great.
cool.
We're gonna go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves one more time for you guys. Also, all of the links to the appropriate things will be following in the chat. Make sure you're checking in on those. But let's do it in reverse order. Luna, start taking us out.
Hey, I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. You can find me at Druid by Night on all the social medias, including on Twitch, where I stream Tuesday to Saturday. You can catch me on Rolling Nomads in Berlin Bloodlines of Bane and Blood, and soon to be many amazing upcoming projects we have planned. But tonight I have simply been the Red Witch, and I've been waiting so long to play this game, and it was so worth the wait. I want. That's me.
Absolutely. Then the wonderful Azure Butterfly.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. You can find me over at theazurebutterfly.ttv and all the social medias at _Azure Butterfly. I am the production coordinator here on the Rolling Nomads. You may know me as Ingrid of Sintra in Witcher Ways of Old, Maria Russolini in Berlin Bloodlines, and Hannah Ackerman in Of Bane and Blood. And here today, I was the Purple Witch.
Yeah, and then it's me. Hi, everybody. Hello. I'm Avery at Avery DeBoy on all the social media platforms. Yeah, I'm the partnerships manager right here on the Rolling Nomads. This has been so much fun. Catch me in a bunch of other stuff. And this evening, I believe, the unnamed witch.
I was going to call you the green one, because like all the plant-related stuff that you were doing and nature-related stuff in general, mixing with Fey knowledge and stuff.
I was the unnamed witch.
In my mind, you were the pipe witch, I have to say.
You know
like that.
what?
I
like
love
There it
that.
is. I am the pipe witch. Remember it. All right, and last but certainly not least, again, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Ian Hathaway.
Thank you, Avery. I had a ton of fun. My name is Ian Hathaway. I am a game designer, writer, role-playing game designer, writer, translator, etc. I collaborate with Officina Meningi, with Valentino Sergi and Atropo Celebra, who have written this wonderful game and many other games. And yeah, it was a wonderful time being able to live this adventure with you, with the purple, red, and pipe witches. And I believe I was truly the unnamed witch, though. Maybe I was the light witch, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you
that
were
seemed to be
definitely the
my
light
thing.
witch.
But
100%.
yeah, so I was the light witch tonight, or today. And in fact, the light is rising here in Germany. So what a perfect omen.
Perfect.
And with that, dear viewers, we will bid you a good time zone, and we'll see you on the next one.